So again, an official big welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I also want to just acknowledge that VocalEye is broadcasting to us all this evening from the unceded, ancestral, and occupied territories of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And, you know, we're all privileged to have the power to join together over this Zoom platform. And I would invite all of you to take an opportunity to just acknowledge the lands that you're settled on, as we all come from different occupied lands, and just to, you know, take a moment to to acknowledge Mother Earth and all that she gives to us, and that we should give back and take care of her as she's been taken care of for centuries before we landed here. So I truly feel honored to live, work, and play on these lands. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Amy. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator, and it's another fantastic Wednesday, April the 14th. Tonight is our number 40. That would be 40 virtual VocalEye event. This is our almost live platform. Almost live. Most of us are live. The show we're watching tonight is not live, but it's such a privilege to gather with you all. Tonight we're going to experience a documentary film called Shameless, The Art of Disability. And I'm going to introduce you to our special guests in just a moment. This documentary is approximately 70 minutes long for folks who would like to know that in advance. And just before I bring in our guests, I want to just give you a quick idea of what's happening next week and in the upcoming weeks, because we took a week off. So next week, which would be the 21st, we're going to premiere Crip Camp. So for those of you who haven't seen Crip Camp with description or would like to see it again, we're going to show that as it's been nominated for an Oscar, which will happen just in the days following our sharing of Crip Camp. So that's timely, and we're going to have a special guest who is a disability rights advocate here in Canada to talk a bit about our own journey through the disability rights movement. On the 28th of April, we're presenting our crowdsourced description project. That's going to be super exciting. So we asked people in the community what they wanted described, what kind of visual art, and then we got a bunch of describers to describe them. So we have generated crowdsourced descriptions. And then just to flag for everybody, because those are 2 Wednesdays, that coming up on Mother's Day, so that's a Sunday event, May 9th, we're going to have a special Mother's Day event. And I'm really looking forward to this. This is some of our top actors in the Vancouver area that are telling true stories about their mothers. So some of us in the Vancouver area that remember Tales from the Blind Side that we used to do at our fundraisers, where there are true stories told by people who are blind or partially sighted. These are true stories told by people to honor their mothers, to laugh about their mothers, to, you know, all sorts of different stories about their mothers. So that's going to be our Mother's Day event. So that gives you a little bit of a taste of what's coming up, folks. And I hope you're excited as I am. You can always head to our website, vocaleye.ca, for a full list of our programming, and of course our newsletter that comes out. We'll give you links and all that kind of fun stuff, and everybody is welcome to join. So if you have friends or family, they don't have to identify with sight loss. We have many folks with us this evening who are our guests and our sighted friends, and we welcome everybody in this space. So thanks all for being here this evening. And I just want to, I know it's a lot of me, but I just also want to thank those of you who have made a donation to VocalEye. We offer this programming free of charge, and we love, passionate about art. If you have the opportunity to make a donation, we would absolutely invite that. And somebody's going to post a link in the chat for you as well if you want to make a contribution. But you are most welcome to join us without doing that as well. So no pressure at all. Okay, folks, I want to introduce our special guests because I am so excited to have these 2 folks in space with us tonight. So Bonnie Sherr Klein is with us. Bonnie is the director of Shameless, and also, you know, I want to say stars in, even though it's a documentary, but is the director and maybe an interviewee / subject. I haven't seen the documentary. I'm excited. So welcome to Bonnie, and welcome to David Roche, who's also a local actor in Vancouver who lives with disability, creator, artist. Yeah, and all around just great, 2 great people. So welcome both of you to the space. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Really, really excited to have you. I have to admit, since Shameless was a documentary film that has been, we have been allowed through the National Film Board of Canada, and big thanks to them for allowing us to share this described version of the documentary with our group tonight. I have not seen this. Sometimes I get a chance to get a sneak preview of what's coming up. I have not seen this. And so Bonnie, for you and I, this is the first time you and I have been in a space together, but I've known David for years, and just over the pandemic, I've recently got to know David more and more. So really happy to be in space. So I'm going to just open this up for a quick, Bonnie, I'm going to throw to you first. Why did you feel that this documentary needed to be made? I know we're going back a bit here to 2006, but
Right.
you know,
I guess because there's so many images of people with disabilities that are pathetic or wrong or shameful. And most of those are made by people who don't have disabilities. So I was in the unique position of having been trained and experienced as a documentary filmmaker before I had a stroke, which disabled me physically and cognitively. So I just didn't feel I had a choice but to make a film, and I hadn't made a film in 18 years since the time I had had a stroke.
So it was almost like a re-debut film for you.
It was, and it was scary.
I can imagine. I think we're gonna get to unpacking some of that in our Q&A at the end. I think that's gonna be great. So tell me about, like, how do you and David know each other at the time of this film? Did you know each other for a long time, or David, how does that happen? How did that happen? How did this documentary enter your life?
You're muted.
David's on mute.
Bonnie and I met in Adelaide, Australia. And so, yeah, fate cast us together there. I was performing, she was doing a book reading.
Okay, you were performing and Bonnie was doing a book reading, and it was kismet, I guess what they say. Kismet. Yeah. I love that. And I know that we'll get to explore sort of more about who you both are through this documentary journey. Was this filmed locally in Vancouver, or was this filmed elsewhere? Seems maybe like a silly question, but
yeah, no, I just want to say that in a sense, the people in the film, there are 5 artists, and it wasn't like we picked one from column A and one. It's not representative of the entire spectrum of disability, which would have to be huge, right? And would certainly be more multiracial, for example. But we were people who knew each other from the Kickstart Disability Festival, which was kind of the first international disability arts festival in Canada. And we all worked on it there. And so we were friends. So basically the film was conceived, and you can keep this in mind that you view it. It was conceived as a kind of pajama party among a group of friends. And the audience was kind of invited to eavesdrop on how we are with each other.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And it kind of is, some folks on the call tonight might be connecting the dots, because you mentioned Jeff McMurtry, who was the founder of Kickstart Disability Arts and Culture. And we just in the last, I don't know, a few weeks past now, did the virtual tour of the Jeff McMurtry Gallery. So we brought Jeff McMurtry's art to this space and described it for our group, and that was a really successful tour. So now it's like the dots are starting to connect, right? It's like the world really isn't that big a place after all. So we'll actually get to experience, because Jeff is in this film, right? So we'll actually get to experience Jeff as if we were all friends with Jeff. So that's a really lovely. Thank you for sharing that. David, why don't you give us a bit of background before we even jump into this film about the type of artist that you are, so that people have an idea of.
Well, I think I am fairly typical of an early generation of artists with disabilities. In other words, I had no training. I never felt that I deserved to learn how to be a performer. I got on stage in my 40s, in my middle years, deciding I wanted to be a comedian. I still don't understand why or how I decided that, but I did. And as soon as I did, I was accepted by audiences and started a career. Um, and that led me, well, to Adelaide, for one, and then to Vancouver, to Kickstart Disability Arts, where I was involved a lot, and
White House.
and oh yeah, led me to the White House. Oh yeah, I've done lots of performing around the world. I even performed in Moscow. I did what was my one signature show at the time, the Church of 80% Sincerity, and London, and obviously Australia and New Zealand and all across the United States. I had a certain advantages because, for one thing, I'm ambulatory. I do not need an attendant. Also, I'm funny, and funny works. Funny works always, I'm confident about that. So here I am, led me down that road to you. And yeah, and
And it's
Shameless
this
was a good part of it. Yes.
the silver lining of the pandemic that brings us all in a space together to experience this art form and to reconnect with friends. I know Terry's on the line with us, who was a part of this film too. And when we get to our Q&A, we'll maybe see if we can drag Terry up to have a conversation with us. I'm really excited to get into this film, and we wait exactly to 7:00 Pacific time to hit the play button, as some people are still sort of joining in after work days and whatnot. So bear with us, friends. We've got 1 minute and countdown before we experience Shameless, the Art of Disability. Again, it runs about 70 minutes long, and then we'll come back and we'll do about a 30-minute Q&A where the audience will have opportunities to ask questions of you fine folks. David, before we get into this, and this is audio described, and I'm actually quite interested to hear how they describe disability. Again, keeping in mind that this was created in 2016. I don't know when, or sorry, 2006. And I don't know when exactly the audio description track was created, but language has changed over time, right? And maybe, later Terry can shed some light on that. But David, Bonnie shared with us that she had a stroke, and I'm wondering if you're comfortable sharing with us what your disability is.
I have what is called the social model of disability. I have certain difficulties in my life with swallowing and breathing and things like that. But basically, my disability is that I have a large vascular malformation, swollen veins that actually are a lovely color of red violet and blue violet, bulging out of the left side of my face and neck and in my tongue and throat, so that when people see me, they assume that I am disabled. That's what I am. And I'd like to cheat here for a moment.
Yeah.
And a shout out to Penny Hall, who is here tonight.
Oh, wonderful.
From California, one of the early, really founders of disability arts in Berkeley, in the Bay Area in California. Well, mutual friend Cheryl Marie Wade called me up on the phone when I was starting to perform, and she said to me, "Did you know that you're disabled?" And I said, well, I don't know, but she explained it to me, and Penny was there as part of that. So thank you, Penny.
Well, thank you. It does sound like this is going to be a little reunion after we watch this documentary together. So without further ado, friends, I'm going to invite you all to just sit back, relax. We're all going to turn our cameras off and our microphones off. And I'm going to get Rick to hit play on Shameless, Disability, Arts, and Culture. No, it's not. That's not what it is at all. It's Shameless, the Art of Disability. I got Kickstart in my head. So thanks, friends. We'll come back after the 70 minutes and we'll have a Q&A. Enjoy the film.